Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cleaning and Restoring. In this episode, we will be doing the Sega Genesis Model 2. That's this one. There's very many different variations. There's the Model 1, which is like a rectangle, and Model 3, which I'll be honest, I don't even know what it looks like. But this is Model 2. It's probably the most simple to take apart and clean. The Model 1 is pretty easy too, but it has a hardwired LED light on top of it, which is just annoying. But this one's pretty easy. It's kind of like the N64, but a lot less partsy. So, first thing you're going to want to do is turn the console over. I forgot what I was saying, if you couldn't tell. There's this little cover right here. If yours doesn't have this, then just skip this, but you want to pop that off, and you can take this off. And then you'll also get right here, there's this little red thing that says do not remove. You're going to remove that. I know, aren't we geniuses? Alright, so then you're going to keep the console facing this way. I'll turn it this way so it's easier for you guys to see. There's 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count them, 4. And you're going to go ahead and take out all 4 of those screws. They're just regular Phillips head screws, so anyone should have a Phillips head screwdriver lying around. So you're just going to take those out, and then I'll show you the next step. Okay, once you've gotten all 4 screws out, you're going to take the console and flip it back over, and then you should just be able to lift the lid right off, kind of like so, as I say as I can't do it. There you go. It should just come off easy. I don't know why this one was stuck. And this is what the inside of Sega Genesis Model 2 looks like. So this is pretty boring, honestly. It's not that creative and all, but it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to just be the outside's supposed to be what looks nice. So we're going to take this part of it and set it aside for right now. We're going to focus on the lid of it. Yes, Patrick, the lid. So there's a few parts that we can take off this. First off, there's this whole cartridge bay, which is just one whole piece, which we can take out, but we're going to skip that for right now. The buttons are what we're going to go at, and this little light piece. So the buttons right here, each one has 2 little plastic tabs on each side. You're going to push those 2 tabs together. You'll need like a screwdriver or something, which you should have handy, and then you're just going to poke them out. It should fall out just like that. Here's your power button, and the same thing goes for the, ow, that's pain. Sometimes if you can't get them with your fingers, it helps like poke them with a screwdriver, the tabs itself. Like this one is actually stuck because someone poured like, I don't even know what's in here. Alright, we'll skip that for right now. But you understand what I'm trying to say, how to get this out. So this light can come out pretty easily. There's 2 little tabs holding that in place also. You just kind of pull it. It basically just pulls out, but you have to also kind of push these 2 little black tabs out of the way that are right here. And you have to do it on both sides, which is kind of annoying because usually one side will fall back in place whenever the other one gets pulled out. But sometimes you can just pull it off, like it just pulled off right there for me. But other times you'll have to put a little more force into it. So this cartridge bay right here has 3 screws, 1, 2, 3. So you're just going to take those 3 screws out, and then I will show you the next step. Alright, I managed to get the reset button. I think that, yeah, the reset button was the one that was stuck. I managed to get that out, and once you take all 3 screws out of this, it'll literally just come right off like this. It's all one big piece, unlike an N64 where these flaps would come off separately. So set this aside, and the lid's basically completely taken apart. Very dirty. So we can set that lid aside. And now we go back down to the console itself. If you look around, there's a bunch of screws everywhere. There's 1 here, 1 back here, 1 here, 2 on each side of the cartridge reader, I guess. 1 down here, 1 down here, another down here, another down here, and another down here. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and take all those screws out. Now it's worth noting that almost every screw in this game console is the same, except I'm pretty sure the 2 that go beside this cartridge reader right here are supposed to be longer, from what I heard. Actually, I'll just do a test right now, because I don't want to be pretty sure and then end up being wrong, because then you guys will be either laugh at me for being wrong, or you won't trust me anymore. So yeah, these are longer than the regular screws, so set those aside, or just remember that they're there. So you're going to go ahead and take out all the screws that are basically visible, and then I'll show you what's after that. Alright, so I've gone ahead and taken out all of the screws, and there is a lot of them. And the only 2 that were different were the ones on each side of this cartridge slot, so just remember that when you're putting it back together, even though I'll mention that. So once you get those out, you should be able to take this piece of metal off. It's called RF shielding. And you can set that off to the side. You probably heard that. And now you're down to the brain of a system. And this is literally, it'll just lift up and you can pull it out. It's a little bit hard to get out because the controller slots are kind of like odd the way they fit in. But you want to set this aside because obviously this cannot be cleaned with water like everything else can. So set that aside gently. So next you're down to this plastic piece, and this is what it would look like, but the board accidentally kind of moved it. So this plastic piece, just kind of remember when you're putting it back together that these parts with all the little holes, I don't know if you can see that very well, this part with all the little holes is facing down. Well, I don't know why I'm saying that, because I'm the one that has to remember that. But for now you can take it out and set it aside. And same with this last piece of RF shielding. Take that out and set it aside also. And now you're down to the bottom of the Sega Genesis, Model 2 that is. And yes, this is what the bottom is. This one isn't filthy, but the top of it, you can see, is pretty dirty. Put the console back together for a minute, just without anything in it. I don't know why this is always entertaining for me to do. Just the fact that there's literally nothing in it. It's just an empty console. I think this would be cool if you had like something like this laying around to put like a light in it. I don't know why, because then like lights would come out all here, out of these like holes down here. I think it would just look cool. But, so now is the point of the video where you take everything and just wash it. All your metal parts, all your plastic parts, anything that's washable, you go ahead and wash it. And right now I'm going to list everything that's washable. The bottom part of the console, the top part of the console. Both of these RF shielding pieces are both washable. The two buttons are washable, and this little light piece. Your original cover that went over the expansion port and the little red do not remove piece. This piece of plastic and the cartridge bay. If you want to go into real detail, you can wash the screws, but that won't help anything. And as for this thing, obviously this cannot be run underwater. That's not the correct past tense. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take an air gun, like an air compressor with a hose connected to it, and just spray it with air. Or you could use like air in a can if you have that laying around, because basically that'll get all of the dust off it, and I'll spray it really intensely in here just to make sure that it like is completely dust free, because that'll almost guarantee it working. So yeah, basically after you clean everything, I'll be back with how to put it back together. Alright, if you're at this stage in the video, you're ready to put your Sega Genesis Model 2 back together. Now I'm starting with the lid. Usually I'd start with the bottom. It doesn't really matter which one you start with, because I'm sure you can figure out how to put it back together, because it's basically the exact opposite of what you just did earlier on. But I'm going to start with the top just because I can really. There's no huge reason to it. But you're going to put the buttons back in first. And the reset one, if you're looking at it this way, this will probably be easier for you guys. The reset button goes on this side, so you can just kind of drop it into place. All you have to do is basically line up the holes and then put it back in, and it should fit pretty snugly in there. This one actually fits really, there we go. Wasn't pushed in all the way. And then your power button obviously goes in the other one over here that's upside down. So once you get those, and they should just kind of fall and not actually like function as a button yet, because you have to put the rest of the console back together first. This little light thing you can just kind of put back into place. It just kind of snaps into place like that. You don't have to really do anything to it. So the last part for the lid is taking this little cartridge flappy part, putting it into place, and then screwing it back into place. And you just take 3 of these regular shorter screws and put them, or screw this back into place. It should be, you should have 3 like really short screws that are a little bit shorter than the other ones, and those ones are the ones that hold this in place. So we'll set that aside. I'll screw that in off camera along with the rest of the console, and we're going to start with the bottom piece. So the first thing you're going to want to do is take the RF shielding that's a little bit smaller. It looks like this. And the way that this goes back into place is these 2 holes right here where I'm pointing to line up with the controller ports down here. So you're going to put it back into place, and then you're going to take the board, which I've cleaned with air and it looks a lot better, and drop it back into place. And I think it's the easiest to put the controller ports down first, like this, and then it'll kind of fall into place. I say as I can't even do it. These boards have never been the easiest to get in for me. These and the Atari ones where you have to like line up ports. But once you get it in, it should fit relatively snug and not like wiggle around hardly at all. And I lied again. Actually take us back out. You gotta put this piece in down first like this, and then put the board in. I actually forgot. I recorded this earlier and forgot it. That's why I had to restart. That's why I said I lied again. But now the board should fit in, and it should be a little more snug than it was before. If I would have forgotten that piece again, I would have been really mad. So next you're going to take this big piece of RF shielding and drop it back into place, and it should line up with this metal piece sticking up in the cartridge slot right here. So now you're going to go ahead and put all your screws back around in. And if you recall, you had 2 screws that were also black, but they were a little bit longer. Those screws go on each side of the cartridge slot right here. So after you put all the screws in for this and all the screw in for the cartridge flap, I'll show you what's next. Okay, little thing to note, you should have 6 screws that are like a medium size. You have 2 really long ones. Those go on each side of the cartridge slot right here. The 2 really long ones go right here on each side. And then you should have 7 kind of medium ones and then a bunch of small ones. The 7 medium ones, 4 of them are what hold the console together, and the other 3 are what go around this cartridge thing right here. I got kind of confused because I mixed them all up on accident. And then you should have a bunch of tiny ones, and those tiny ones are what go all around this part right here. And if you forgot where each screw is, there's one right here, 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 and here. And then there's 2 on each side of this that are the really long ones. So at this point in the video, I guess you're ready to put your console back together, or at least I am. If you didn't screw everything back together, go ahead and pause the video and do that right now. If you're actually doing this, or if you're just watching for fun, thanks for watching. But if you're ready to put it back together, then let's put it back together. So basically all you have to do is take the lid, turn it back over, and put it on top, and make sure it lines up properly. This should be one of the easiest. I don't know what I'm trying to say. This is one of the easiest consoles for me personally, where it is to get the lid to line up, along with like the N64 and the SNES. And an original Xbox and like a PS1, they're really hard to get back together for some reason for me. My friend, who I did a bunch of consoles for today, including this one, he brought over an Xbox too, and we never got the lid to line back up. It's still not on it properly because we couldn't get it to line up. But that's besides the point. You should if you can't get this to go on properly, you'll probably have something wrong or not put together correctly, because it's really easy to get back together. So you're going to go ahead and put these 4 screws back in place, and I'll do that on camera. And if you want to skip ahead, go ahead. I'm pretty sure you know what's coming after this. This is really just the outro to the video. The only reason I'm not skipping this is because it's just 4 screws compared to like some consoles have 7 or 6. And also, Phillips head screws are the easiest to put back in. If these were game screws, I'd be having much bigger difficulties. And another reason I didn't skip this was because I did want to talk about something. I was going to do a Game Gear cleaning and restoring, the little handheld console that's made by Sega also, but they are actually, I took one apart because my friend brought one in with a broken screen. I took it apart, and let me tell you, complicated. Holy crap. I didn't even take the whole thing apart because there were so many screws. They were all the same screw, but there were just so many that I didn't feel comfortable with it, and I couldn't take it fully apart. I could get the buttons out, but that was really about it. I was too nervous to do anything more. So, as far as I know, there won't be a Game Gear cleaning and restoring, just as a little heads up for you guys. So once you got all 4 screws back in, you can do your little test where you lift up by just the lid, and it should not obviously let go. If it does, that's not good. It means your screws are not threading correctly. So then you can turn it back over, put your little make sure this isn't wet inside here, because since it's such a tight space, water can get stuck in it. But once you know that it's dry, like I have checked, you put it back over top, put the cover back on. If I can get it back on, there you go. And your Sega Genesis Model 2, because Model 1s are hard to do and I don't even know what a Model 3 looks like. Your Sega Genesis Model 2 is back together and fully functional. There should be a little bit of rattling. It's usually these buttons or these flaps or something, if you hear that. But that's basically it for this video. So if you liked it, thank you for watching, and please leave a like or subscribe for more videos similar to this one.